All right, let's dive in. Today, we're tackling international relations theories.
Ooh,
I
exciting.
know, right? We're going to be using some excerpts from a Norwich University article
Yeah?
to break down 5 big frameworks for understanding, why countries act the way they do on the global stage.
It's like trying to figure out the global puzzle.
All right, exactly.
Each country is like a piece of the puzzle.
And these theories are
with different ways to put those pieces together.
like the instruction manual.
Uh-huh.
So first up, we've got realism,
Okay, realism.
which is often called power politics, because it basically says that nations are primarily driven by self-interest power. It's like
it can be a little bit of a shark to the system, right? Because it kind of sets aside morality.
Ideals.
Yeah, ideals in favor of just
Cold, hard calculations.
Exactly. It's like a very pragmatic approach.
So it's like if a country has a terrible human rights record, but they benefit you strategically or economically,
right?
You might just look the other way or even support them.
It's like, well, it serves our interests, so.
Yeah, and we see this all the time.
Oh, absolutely.
Like with China's relationship with North Korea.
Mm-hmm.
Even though North Korea causes all this tension,
right.
It's like a buffer for China against the West.
Exactly. It's a strategic buffer, so they're willing to overlook a lot. Another example that comes to mind is Russia's involvement in Syria.
Yeah.
Despite all the condemnation of the Syrian regime,
right.
Russia's stayed a staunch ally because it's protecting their own interests in the region.
So it's realism suggests that every nation is just playing
chess.
Yeah, a high-stakes game of chess.
High-stakes chess, always thinking a few moves ahead.
And survival is the most important thing.
It's about staying in the game, right? But, it is a little more nuanced than that. It's not just pure self-interest. Realism also says, sometimes nations can cooperate when it's
beneficial.
Beneficial to them, yeah.
Right.
Like during wartime, those temporary alliances, they team up to achieve a common goal, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're best buddies.
Right. So it's a marriage of convenience.
Exactly.
So that makes sense. But then, how can you have lasting peace and cooperation if every nation is just focused on their own power?
Well, that's where liberalism comes in.
Liberalism?
It's the more optimistic cousin of realism.
Okay.
Liberalism is all about the idea that cooperation in international institutions can actually create a more peaceful and prosperous world.
So it's instead of a chessboard, it's more like a...
At work.
Yeah, a network where everyone can benefit from...
From collaboration.
Collaboration.
Yeah.
So liberalism is about finding that common ground.
Exactly. It's about finding those win-win situations where everyone can benefit.
But is it really that easy?
Well, of course not. Nothing in international relations is ever simple.
Right.
Some people say that liberalism can be a little...
naive?
A little naive, yeah.
Because it's overlooking...
Yeah. The fact
power struggles?
Yeah, power struggles.
Still exist?
Exactly. Those never really go away completely.
And nations don't always act rationally.
Right. Or in good faith.
Yeah.
So it's not all sunshine and roses.
Right.
There are definitely limitations to the liberalist perspective.
Okay. So it's more complicated than just, everyone get along.
Exactly.
So then we have other lenses to look at global politics through.
Absolutely, yeah. Let's talk about constructivism.
Constructivism.
This theory really challenges both realism and liberalism.
Okay.
It says, a nation's actions aren't just determined by material things like power or money, but also by their history.
Their identity.
Their identity, their ideas about the world.
Their worldview, shapes how they act.
Yeah. It's their personality on the global stage, And that personality is shaped by all these past experiences.
Cultural norms. Shared memories.
The article brings up a really interesting example. Germany.
Oh, yeah.
After World War II, they've been very hesitant to use military force.
Yeah.
Because of that horrific legacy.
Yeah.
It's a powerful example of how history can shape a nation's entire outlook on foreign policy.
But it's not just about past trauma.
Right.
Constructivists also say that shared ideas can influence behavior.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like the idea of human rights or, environmental protection.
Exactly. those shared values create a framework for cooperation.
Yeah.
They change how countries view their role in the world.
And this is where it gets really interesting.
What's that?
Constructivism says that it's not just states that matter.
Right.
It's also like non-state actors.
Yes, exactly.
Like international organizations.
NGOs,
social movements. They all contribute to shaping these global norms.
It's like a big web of influence, right?
Right.
And sometimes those groups can be even more influential than states.
Even without like military power or economic power.
Think about groups like Amnesty International.
Right.
Or Greenpeace.
Yeah.
They've changed the conversation on things like human rights and the environment. They've pushed countries to adopt new policies.
So ideas can be just as powerful as tanks and bombs.
Absolutely, sometimes even more so.
Okay, so we've got realism, about power, liberalism, which is about cooperation, constructivism, which brings in like ideas and identity.
Right, it's like we're adding more and more layers to the puzzle.
Yeah, exactly.
And it gets even more complex when we look at theories that question the whole system itself.
Oh,
like Marxism. This one really gets to the heart of power structures.
Okay.
It argues that the global system is unequal because of
capitalism.
Capitalism, yes.
So it's like the world's divided between
the haves and the have-nots.
The haves and have-nots, and it's calling for like
more equality.
Yeah, a more equitable distribution of resources.
Yeah, power too.
Power, yeah.
It's about challenging those fundamental inequalities.
So while realism and liberalism are like working within the system, Marxism is like, no, we need to dismantle the whole thing.
Yeah, they see the system itself as the problem.
It's a pretty radical idea.
It is.
But it's had a huge impact on history.
Oh, absolutely.
Like the revolutions in China, Vietnam, and Cuba.
Right. Those were all heavily influenced by Marxist ideas.
Yeah.
Even if they didn't always turn out as planned.
Right.
And even today, there's a renewed interest in socialism.
Yeah, especially with all this growing inequality.
Exactly.
So Marxism really challenges us to like rethink the whole system.
It asks us to consider whether true equality is even possible within the current order.
Yeah.
It's a thought-provoking perspective, that's for sure.
And speaking of challenging the status quo, our last theory for today is feminism.
Feminism.
Which like shines a light on
gender.
Yeah, gender in global politics.
It's about recognizing how gender shapes power relations on the world stage.
So while other theories might focus mainly on states, feminism is bringing in like the experiences of women.
Exactly.
Which have often been ignored.
Absolutely. Feminist theory argues that traditional theories often miss the whole picture because they don't account for gender.
It's like they're only looking at half the population.
Right, and it's not just about numbers.
It's also about like how conflict affects women differently.
Exactly, and the persistence of gender-based discrimination.
Yeah, like around the world.
It's a global issue.
And like the lack of women in positions of power.
Absolutely.
The article mentioned some pretty inspiring examples.
Oh, yes.
Like Hillary Clinton and Condoleezza Rice.
Two powerful women who really broke down barriers in U.S. foreign policy.
Yeah.
They're fantastic examples of how women are changing the game.
And there are so many others around the world who are working to create a more just system.
Yeah, one that recognizes and values the contributions of all genders.
So we've got realism, which is all about power. Liberalism, about cooperation. Constructivism, about ideas.
Ideas and identity. Yeah.
Marxism, challenging the system itself.
A systemic critique, yeah.
And then feminism, bringing in like the gendered lens.
Right, so we've got 5 distinct lenses to view the world through.
It's like we're building this like multifaceted understanding of international relations.
Exactly, and it's important to remember that these theories aren't mutually exclusive.
Right.
They can often work together, complementing each other.
Like each one adds another piece to the puzzle.
Yeah, they provide different insights into the same complex events.
So with these 5 theories in mind, let's shift gears in part 2. To look at how they play out in the real world.
And why understanding them can make you a more informed and engaged global citizen. I'm excited to dive into that. It's like, you have all these tools in a toolbox.
Right.
You wouldn't use a hammer to fix everything right.
No.
You need the right tool for the job.
Yeah.
These theories, they're like different tools. They help us understand different situations.
But we don't need to like find the one right theory.
Right. It's not about that.
We can just like use them to ask better questions.
Exactly. So like, let's say you're following this conflict that's happening somewhere. You could use realism to think about like the power dynamics.
Yeah.
Who wants what?
But then you could use constructivism to look at the history.
Exactly.
The ideology.
Yeah, the beliefs that are driving the conflict.
Like what's motivating people.
Exactly.
Or like if there's a new international agreement. You could use liberalism to see how that could lead to cooperation.
Yeah, the potential for cooperation.
But then feminism could help you understand
if
it really addresses the needs of women.
So each theory gives you a different angle.
Right. It's like looking at it from different sides.
Yeah, different perspectives.
Yeah, okay.
And sometimes you got to use more than one to get the full picture.
So this is all very interesting. But for our listener out there, like, why should they care about this theoretical stuff? Like, how does this make a difference in their life?
Well, think about it. We're bombarded with news all the time, right?
Right.
Global events, it's easy to feel overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But these theories, they can help you make sense of it all.
Okay.
You become a more informed citizen.
So instead of just like reading the headlines, you can understand why things are happening.
Yeah, exactly. You can see those underlying forces at play.
The motivation.
It's like having a decoder ring for the news.
Right.
You can see beyond the surface.
Yeah.
And that can lead to, you know, more informed opinions, more thoughtful conversations.
More effective action.
Yeah.
Like if you're passionate about climate change,
Right.
you can use realism to understand why it's so hard to get countries to cooperate.
Yeah.
Because they're focused on their own interests.
But then liberalism gives you hope.
Okay.
Shows you that cooperation is possible through agreements and institutions.
And constructivism could show you how those norms are changing.
Exactly. Suddenly you're not just a passive observer.
Right.
You can actually engage with the issue.
You can try to change things.
So it's not just about understanding the world.
Yeah.
It's about being able to shape it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that brings us back to those excerpts from the Norwich University article. These theories aren't just abstract ideas, you know?
Right.
They're based on real-world events.
Okay.
So the next time you read about, you know, a conflict or a treaty, an economic crisis, whatever, try putting on those different theoretical lenses.
Yeah.
Think, what would a realist say about this?
A liberal.
A constructivist.
Yeah. And like mix and match them right.
Absolutely.
See the situation from multiple angles.
The more you use them, the better you'll understand the world.
You know, it's interesting.
Yeah.
These theories, they're powerful.
Yeah.
But the world's changing so fast.
It is.
Like, what new theories might emerge?
That's a great question.
Right.
Will the old ones adapt, or will we need totally new ones?
It really makes you think about the future of international relations, doesn't it?
It does.
Like, maybe we'll need theories about climate change.
Oh, yeah.
Or AI.
Definitely.
Like, those are already reshaping the world.
Absolutely. Climate change is a huge one.
Yeah.
It's changing how countries think about security.
Yeah, because it's not just about military power anymore.
Right.
It's about resources.
Mm-hmm.
Like water and food.
Exactly.
And then AI.
Oh, wow. AI, that's a whole other
that's right.
can of worms.
Yeah.
It raises questions about the future of war.
Yeah.
Like, what even is war in the age of AI?
And like, who has the power?
Right. Is it the countries with the best algorithms?
Yeah, it's crazy to think about.
It's really fascinating, though, to be living through these changes.
Yeah.
And to see how these theories might adapt.
Or like be replaced by new ones.
Right. Maybe we'll dust off some old ideas, give them a new spin.
Or maybe something completely new will pop up.
It's like we're exploring uncharted territory.
Yeah, the map is still being drawn.
Exactly.
That's what keeps things interesting, though, right?
Absolutely. There's always something new to learn.
So as we wrap up, I want to leave our listener with a challenge.
Okay.
A challenge, don't just take these theories at face value.
Right.
Like, question them.
Challenge them.
Yeah, look for their weaknesses.
See where they fall short.
And most importantly, see how they apply to the world today.
The world we live in right now.
Because the world's a complicated place.
It is.
But these theories, they give you a framework.
Yeah, a starting point.
To understand it all.
To make sense of the chaos.
Yeah. So keep those mental gears turning.
And remember, the world needs your insights.
Until next time.
Keep exploring.
Keep exploring.